He woke up the next morning, looked over in bed, but it wasn't Rachel, it was Leah. He nearly passed out. He didn't see the beautiful face he dreamed about. He saw weak eyes staring at him. No offense, but he didn't work that hard, that long for something that dull. He went straight. I want to talk to you today about dealing with ugly situations. In life, we all face the good, the bad, and the ugly. We love the good times where we're seeing God's favor and doors are opening. We can handle the bad. We didn't get the contract. A neighbor is talking about us. That's just life happening. But there are some situations, the only way to describe them is ugly. An ugly medical report. We never thought we'd be facing this. Or an ugly breakup. Someone we counted on walked away. Or an ugly addiction. It's easy to get discouraged and think, God, where were you? But God won't allow a difficulty if He's not going to use it for your purpose. The scripture says everything is serving His plan. Not just the good times, the promotion, the blessings, but even the ugly times when it's not fair and life throws us a curve. If you'll go through the suffering with the right attitude, through that hardship, trusting that God's in control, then God will make something beautiful out of the ugly. You will go to levels of your destiny that you could have never reached by just living in the good times. And these ugly seasons are uncomfortable. We'd prefer to never have to deal with it, but they are necessary to become all you were created to be. And that's what happened with Jacob. He just moved to a new city and he was working for his uncle, a man named Laban. Laban had two daughters, Rachel and Leah. Rachel was extremely attractive. She was stunning. The scripture says she was beautiful in every way with a lovely face and a shapely figure. Everyone admired her beauty. She was a knockout. But her older sister Leah, not so much. Verse 17 says Leah had weak eyes. One translation says Leah was dull looking. Rachel got all this physical beauty, but Leah was unattractive. And it's not often that the scripture describes someone's physical appearance. This has a deeper meaning because every person is a masterpiece made in the image of God. But the symbolism here is Rachel is beautiful and Leah is ugly. Well, when Jacob saw Rachel, he didn't think twice. It was love at first sight. He thought, I'm going to marry this girl. In those days, women were treated almost like property. You had to buy them. Jacob went to Laban and said, I'll make a deal with you. I'll work for you 7 years if you'll let me marry Rachel. Laban shook his hand and said, you have a deal. 7 years and she's yours. Well, Jacob was so in love, he couldn't wait for the 7 years to pass. He worked hard and was faithful. He increased Laban's flocks. Because of Jacob, Laban became a wealthy man. And Jacob was glad to do it. He knew something better was coming in return. This beautiful Rachel was about to be his wife. Well, the 7 years came to an end, and Laban had this big wedding, all the family and friends. Back then, the bride wore a very thick veil. You couldn't see who it was. After the ceremony, they had all this dancing, all the partying. Finally, the night ended. Jacob went home a married man. He woke up the next morning, looked over in bed, but it wasn't Rachel, it was Leah. He nearly passed out. He didn't see the beautiful face he dreamed about. He saw weak eyes staring at him. No offense, but he didn't work that hard, that long for something that dull. He went straight to Laban, said, this is not what we agreed to. I didn't ask for the unattractive one. I asked for the beautiful one. How many times have we prayed for Rachel, but we got Leah? Like Jacob, we worked hard. We did the right thing. We were expecting Rachel, favor, promotion, good breaks, but Leah showed up. Something unfair that we didn't see coming. Rachel represents what we're believing for. Our dreams, good health, joy, peace, abundance. We all want Rachel, but often Leah shows up first. Something that we didn't want, what's unattractive. What you do in the ugly situations will determine whether you get stuck there or you come into the beautiful things God has for you. You may be in one of those ugly times now. Things haven't turned out the way you had planned. You can get bitter, give up on your dreams, or you can do like Jacob and do the right thing when it's unfair. Keep being your best when life throws you a curve. Rachel is coming. What God promised you is still en route. Leah is a test. The ugly situation is where you have to prove to God what you're made of. Anyone can get sour and forget you, Laban. This is unfair. But if you don't deal with Leah properly, you'll never see Rachel. It was necessary that Leah came first. Wasn't a coincidence. That's just how the story panned out. It was ordained by God. We can't see it at the time, how any good can come out of this ugly situation where we were betrayed. We were dealing with an illness. We lost a loved one. It may not be fair, but without it, you couldn't become all you were created to be. It's depositing something in you. It's stretching you, getting you prepared for things greater than you've imagined. Jacob married Rachel and he married Leah. He had 2 wives, but he never really loved Leah. The scripture says that Leah was disliked. She felt unwanted. She had baby after baby, thinking that would cause Jacob to change his mind and really fall in love. But Jacob never did. He was respectful, but he didn't show her much affection, didn't spend much time with her. He loved Rachel. He was drawn to her beauty and her smile, the way she made him feel. Well, over time, both Rachel and Leah had children. Leah had a son named Judah. It was thousands of years later, the Messiah would come through the tribe of Judah. Jesus was born through Leah's family line. Out of this ugly situation came something magnificent, something Jacob couldn't see at the Genesis 49. Jacob was an old man and about to pass, called his children in, spoke blessings. He gathered his loved ones around and gave them one final instruction. Said in verse 29, soon I'm going to die. Bury me in the cave of Machpelah, where my grandfather and father are buried, for there I buried Leah. In those days, it was very important where you were laid to rest. Wasn't an afterthought. You would have put much time and effort into it. Had great meaning and significance. Isn't it interesting that Jacob didn't say, bury me next to Rachel? Make sure I'm beside that woman that was so beautiful, that I loved and admired. No, Jacob said, bury me next to Leah. He was saying, in effect, when I look back over my life, I realized Leah was necessary. I was uncomfortable. I didn't choose it. It's not what I expected, but I wouldn't have become who I am without Leah. For 17 years, I worked behind the scenes here at Lakewood, doing the television production. I enjoyed making my father look good. I thought that's what I would do the rest of my life. My father and I were the best of friends, had a beautiful wife, 2 young children. Life was good. Then Leah showed up. My father had a heart attack and suddenly went to be with the Lord. I didn't see that coming. I thought Daddy would be here another 20 years, but unexpectedly, he was gone. I found myself in an ugly situation. It was painful. There was so much uncertainty. What's going to happen to Lakewood? I knew I was supposed to step up and pastor, but I was afraid. I didn't feel qualified. Plus, I was dealing with the loss of my father. I liked the way it was before with Rachel, everything beautiful. But sometimes God will send Leah to push you into your purpose. If my father was still here, I would have never stepped up. I was comfortable where I was. Do you know what brought the gifts out that I never knew I had? Not Rachel, not the good times, but Leah. I thought losing my father would be my darkest hour, but in fact, it launched me into my brightest hour. God was working in the loss, in the pain, in the trouble. He was using Leah to get me to Rachel, to a level of my destiny I would have never seen without that ugly situation. And when I come to the end of life, I can say with Jacob, bury me next to Leah. Because if I hadn't had that loss, I would have never stepped up to who I was created to be. Without Leah, I would have never become a pastor, never had the Compact Center, never written a book.